Am I the asshole for telling a 15-year-old that Santa isn't real as a teacher? I am an English teacher for grade 10, 15, 16-year-olds, and my class is reading Animal Farm, which is an allegory of the Russian Revolution, and in the novella, the animals are very unintelligent and gullible, easily falling for propaganda. One of the horses couldn't even learn the alphabet past the letter D. One of my students, a 15-year-old girl, asked me why the animals were falling for propaganda so easily, and I replied that they haven't developed critical thinking skills yet. For example, you probably believed in Santa when you were younger, but as you got older, you developed critical thinking skills and realized that it would be impossible for Santa to deliver 1 billion gifts in one night. She then replied with, "Wait, what? Santa isn't real." She looked around her table group and asked the other students, "You believe in Santa, right?" The other kids stared at each other, and a few of them broke into laughter. I saw one student putting his finger to his mouth, making a shhhhhh gesture to another student while giggling. She seemed pretty upset for the rest of the class. So I basically told one of my sophomore year students that Santa wasn't real, assuming that she would already know as a 15-year-old. Unrelated, the second you mentioned Animal Farm, all I could think of what that scene in Archer, when he's arguing with Lana thinking there's a literal animal farm in space, and she says it's a book. No, it isn't. Lana, it's an allegorical novella about Stalinism by George Orwell, and spoiler alert, IT sucks. She was screwing with you, playing dumb for laughs and attention. You didn't ruin anything, and her joke was typical sophomore humor. There was no fault here. Now, I feel like you could stand to hone your critical thinking skills a bit more yourself because you're being pranked. Now, if I believe this story is true, does that mean I lack critical thinking skills? But at the same time, I want to believe because it's funnier if it's real. My son believed long past the time when I thought he would, all because of NORAD. Every year at Christmas, they do a Santa tracker, and kids can even call to see where he is. He was fascinated with all things space and aviation, and surely an agency as legit as NORAD wouldn't lie, right? I accidentally did this to a 13-year-old friend when a Santa-themed radio ad came on. I said something like, "Isn't it really cool how all the adults pretend when stuff like this comes on?" And I have been haunted by the look on his face in the rear-view mirror since. You're the asshole because of your Animal Farm analysis. The whole point of the book is to highlight the power of propaganda, and how people in positions of power can control what people believe through manipulation and lies. Critical thinking doesn't necessarily protect you from this. You're not the asshole, just more gullible than an Animal Farm horse. Look, my first thought is the kids are taking the piss and it's a well-planned con. But second thoughts say kids aren't that smart or coordinated. Third thoughts wonder where you draw the line on what is and isn't real. So you've eliminated Santa. What about the Easter Bunny? Krampus? Period Fairy, Tooth Fairy, or Veruca Gnome? What about Jesus, God, Aquaman, or any of the other super friends? So I'll reserve my judgment based on where on the scale you lie. You know adults fall for propaganda all the time? Even ones who have stopped believing in Santa, right? Not the asshole. Odds are she was faking. If not, you did her a favor. I don't think any teacher should have to give a Santa spoiler alert past 6th grade. If you had known, I feel like you probably wouldn't have said anything. Some kids stop believing in things like magic at different ages, so I wouldn't call a 15-year-old still believing anything abnormal. But I probably wouldn't assume every kid you teach is at that point. Point is, it was an accident, but maybe don't make assumptions like that in the future. I just feel bad that the other kids laughed at the poor girl. Imagine being told the cool thing you believe in was made up and everyone but you knew, and then being laughed at. You're the asshole for making up dumb stories. Either this whole post is bullshit or it was a joke and you seriously took the bait. Till teacher thinks kid is slow. Kids know teacher are slow. Though regardless, wouldn't have been your fault if they weren't playing you, lol. Yikes bro, you should have used a different analogy. She may be joking with you or she may have still believed, but either way you didn't do it on purpose. I world with elementary and middle school kids, and no matter how old they are I tell them Santa is real and I never back down. I also tell the younger ones I'm 451 years old. One asked, did you know Santa, like were you married? So I said yeah, and now they've made up a whole story about how Santa divorced me because I cheated on him. Ha 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 ha, let's keep the dream alive, be people. You're the asshole for being an English teacher and writing that grammatically incorrect shit show of a headline. Not the asshole. Unless the student is special needs, there is no reason for a 15-year-old to still believe in Santa. Okay, these comments are acting like still believing at 12 is weird. I still believed until I was 11 and cried when I found out the truth, although TBF I did deliberately not think on it, and I didn't question it at all for fear of ruining the magic LMAO. You're an English teacher? Your post title sure doesn't reflect it. The way you wrote the title says that Santa is not real as a teacher. Try, as a teacher, am I the asshole? For telling a 15-year-old that Santa isn't real? As for the act of revealing Santa to be a fictional character, it wasn't your best moment, but not the asshole. Now, you would have been if you deliberately set out to tell her, but it's understandable you just assumed she didn't believe in the Santa myth at 15. It sucks for her this happened in public, she's probably really embarrassed. I think a private apology would be in order, but she is way beyond the age where you could have expected someone to still believe in Santa. I was finally told by my mom when I was 13, but the couple of years leading up to that was more of a I better play it safe than sorry. It didn't help that when I was in elementary school my folks did something that, without my ability to give it critical thought, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt he was real. Basically, I received exactly what I wrote Santa for despite refusing to tell the folks what was in the letter. I don't mind, it was all wonderful memories. Santa isn't what? Ntar. Not the asshole, you didn't know she still believed, you didn't intentionally ruin Santa for her. I'm honestly surprised someone can make it to 15 without ever learning Santa isn't real though. Funny, but a bunch of you still believe the Christian fairy tales. Just saying. Not the asshole. Any 15-year-old that doesn't know Santa is make-believe is on their own in my book. Not the asshole. Man, she's really gonna be pissed when she finds out about God next. I think believing in Santa's awful, and same with the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy, like lying to your kids early on makes them really gullible when they're adults. I don't think you're the asshole. Ntar. Hilarious. Saint Nicholas was real asshole. Not the asshole, wait until I tell you that God doesn't real either. That'll blow your mind. Not the asshole, it seems like they pranked you. If it wasn't a prank, it's not up to you to play along with things you weren't aware of, such as parents saying Santa is real. Animal Farm is an allegory of America right now. Yes, you're an asshole. Wait, Santa isn't real? I don't believe this, let me call my wife, she'll know. Borderline here, there's more to believing in Santa than some bearded man going to every house. I believed in Santa until I moved out of my house because if I didn't then I didn't get Santa presents. My mom always taught me there's something otherworldly and magical about this kind of belief. I'd suggest you read the autobiography of Santa Claus to let a little magic in your life. Something special about not being so cynical in life. Although this student was probably messing with you. You're the asshole. It's bad enough that you're a teacher, but you have to take the dream away from them, don't you? So they're as miserable as you are, don't you? Not the asshole. Believing in an invisible sky daddy, based on words uttered by goat herders, and written down 200 years later, would have been a better example. Not the asshole. That kid isn't too bright, and neither are her parents. Wait, Santa isn't real?